Hello and welcome to Ecology 2. All right, now let's begin here with trophic levels. All right, the prefix troph means nourishment. I know we haven't studied that yet, so I thought I'd just throw that in there because you couldn't just pull that out of your mind. All right, so if we're talking about nourishment, that means food. We're not talking cheese puffs here. All right, so feeding levels, that's what we're going to be talking about. So um, when we look at each link in a food chain, so here's a chain, just to give you a little visual here. So each link, this link, this link, this link, so each link is going to be a feeding level. So the trophic level represents the step in the transfer of energy. We're going to look at how much energy is actually transferred. That's really why we look at all of this, to see the interaction and the amount of energy that is transferred in this whole process. All right, so of course we know that bio means bio means life. So biomass is the amount of this organic matter. And what did we say organic was? Think, 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 think. Organic it contains carbon. So the amount of carbon-containing matter that is comprised of a group of organisms in a particular habitat. All right, so how much organic matter is in there? As you move up the food chain, both the available energy and the biomass decrease. And then as energy is transferred upward, it is transferred upward because obviously we get energy from things that we eat. So it is transferred upward in this food chain, but it's diminished with each transfer, and it's greatly diminished. You're about to see that in a picture coming up. I know you can hardly wait. Here we go. There. Well, that's not the numbers one, no, but let's look at it. It's like a pyramid because there's lots and lots. So this is showing not only the amount of, organisms. You can see those decrease as you move up, but it's also going to show the energy transfer, and I'll show that. All right, so lots of producers, lots and lots of plants, okay? There needs to be. All right, so there's lots and lots of plants, less primary consumers, the herbivores that are eating the plants, less secondary consumers, those are the carnivores that are eating the herbivores, and then even less tertiary. So there's a transfer of energy, but there's also a decrease in the number of organisms at each of those levels. And here is the math numbers. Oh, the math. Oh, isn't that a fabulous word? Okay, so here are the numbers associated with it. So in plants, the amount of energy from this biomass here, 100%. So the plants are producing the energy, remember, through the process called think. Photosynthesis. So in that process, the plants are producing the energy, and then the consumers, the herbivores, the primary consumers, only of that 100%, they're only getting 10% of it. Part of that is because there's less of them, and part of it is because energy is used. The plants use up this energy, and some of it is released. And so right here you have only 10% of the primary consumers will get the energy from the producers. We go up another level, we only get 10%, 1% of that 10%. So it decreases by 10% each level, and tertiary would be 0.1%. All right? Okay, so here we have our pyramid just showing. So there'd be lots and lots of plants, less primary consumers, less secondary, and then very few top tertiary consumers. Okay, feeding levels again. Let's look at this food chain. So a food chain is a very simple is the key. It's a very simple model that shows how matter and energy move through an ecosystem. So here we have our producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary. It's a chain. Remember, think of a chain. It's got one link that leads to the next one, that's connected to the next one. So it's one single chain here. And here's an example of a food chain. Of course, sun and water. The producers need those in order to photosynthesize, so lots of energy here. And then you have primary consumers that eat the producers, and so on and so forth. So here's a good example of a food chain. Now, think about the difference between a food chain and a food web, and you need to think logically to remember the difference. A chain, think about a chain you have on your neck, a necklace or something, and so it's just got one link interconnected with another. But a web, think about a spider web and how interconnected and woven in all different places. So the food web is showing all the possible feeding relationships in a community at each of the trophic levels. So it shows all the possible ones, and it has this network that's all over. That's what you should think of, that noise. I can't make it again because it's really strange. All right, so a food chain, again, chain, one link, another link, another link, another link. But we have a food web, and there it is. I did it. That's so great. Okay, so, but out of the food web, can we follow a food chain? Oh, we most certainly can. So you can have a food chain in a food web, but it doesn't go the other way around. You can't have a food web in a food chain. Just saying. All right, so let's pull out a food chain out of this food web. So we start here. Here's our our producer. Here's one step in the chain. So the grasshopper's eating the grass. The bird is eating the grasshopper. And then the owl eats the bird. So you can see a food chain in the food web. Amazing stuff. I know, you can hardly contain yourself. It's so exciting. All right, here's an example of a food web in the desert biome. Less than 10 inches of rainfall per year. Keep that in your head. All right, so here you have the producers that are there, the primary consumers, secondary consumers, and the large predators, the tertiary consumers. Here's one in the temperate rainforest biome. And then you have, this would be in more of a estuary kind of, because you have marsh vegetation, lots of watery kind of area, and then you could pull a food chain out of here, like a grasshopper would be eaten by a herring, which is a fish, and then that fish is eaten by an eagle. So here's a food chain in the food web. There's a soil food web. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's see what you know. You have to answer these questions. Okay, which trophic level, which feeding level produces nourishment for the most organisms in the ecosystem? Which one do you think it is? Think. Which one had the most energy? Okay, write your answer in your paper. Okay, next, a seed. This is like a mystery, okay? A seed is eaten by a chipmunk. The chipmunk is eaten by a snake. The snake is eaten by an eagle. So in this food web, that's a food chain and a food web. In that, all of the following are true except which one? Is the chipmunk a primary consumer? Go back and check. Is it eating a producer? Energy is gained at each trophic level. Is it gained is the question. The eagle is at the highest trophic level. Well, let's see. The seed, the chipmunk, the snake, the eagle. The seed is part of a producer. Write down what you think is the answer and which one is not true out of those four. Okay, moving on. Food chain always begins with photosynthesis and ends with what? Now, I'll be honest with you. You could make two cases here. So, what I want you to do is you could, which one you put down, tell me why it's that. And then, if you put both and tell me why it could be those, I might just give you a piece of candy. Just maybe, if I'm in a good mood. All right, so, oh, here's math. Yay, here's the math. Okay, so the producers and producers, okay? I want you to think back to that pyramid, okay? Look at your pyramid. The producers in the ecosystem contain 350,000 kcals. This is kilocalories. So kcals, that's just the unit of how we measure energy. So they have 350,000 producers. How much energy is available to the secondary consumers? So look at your chart and you're going to multiply that percentage times the original percentage here to come up with the answer. Write the answer on your paper. Oh, nutrient cycles is what's coming up next. So I'm just going to put that up. Oh, I'm taking it off now because you're going to be so excited about that one. You're not going to hardly be able to stand it. Okay, so that's Ecology 3. Have a great day.